I found Bill, and I'm like, what do you put, a cross or a happy face? And that brother went into the MRI, smelled like a bag of French fries. What I want to do is move from just agreeing with Jesus to actually doing this stuff. Because I can't find one time in the scriptures where Jesus said, agree with me. He's like, either do it. So if you take agreeing with Jesus off the table, the only thing that's left is either doing it or not. And that's not to make you feel bad. He is not interested in my or your agreement. I just want to know the scriptures and then do something about it. And it usually starts with somebody creepy. At San Quentin, I was there the last day or two, and I've been there for 10 years. And there's some pretty crazy guys that have been. I've got a Manson family member in my class, and I remember Christmas time I came dressed like Santa. And I thought, this will cheer the guys up, not realizing that they're not big at the gates on having people with baggy clothes and costumes on, because you bring hacksaws and crack and stuff in. So I did this like Jedi, like, you want to let me in? And they did. And now I'm in the yard, and I'm sitting down somewhere, and this Manson family member came and sat on my lap. And he said, I've never sat on Santa's lap before. I said, well, I've never had a serial killer in my lap before. So this is a first for both of us. And I said, well, so this is how it goes with Santa. What do you want? And I thought he'd say an alibi, but what he said is he wanted a call on Christmas morning. And the warden is a really good egg, and he set up a video camera, and this guy and I talked on Christmas morning together, and when he was done, he said, hang on a second. He got out of the frame, and the next guy sat down. And then we had this great conversation. He said, hang on a second, and the next guy. There's a line of 30 guys out there. Hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, people in jail. Don't agree with Jesus. Just find somebody hungry. We got, do you have an In-N-Out burger out this far? Yeah, but that's where I came to Jesus. Have you guys had a double-double? I'm like, there is a God. So, but I just carry around 50 hamburgers. I don't say, are you hungry? I'd be like, have a burger. I have those little water bottle shooters. I'll just say, are you thirsty? And be like, have somebody hungry, thirsty people, sick people. Just go find people that's got the sniffles. Bring them something. Naked people are a little hard to find, but you know them when you found them. But we have a nude beach in San Diego. I just throw socks over the edge. Don't just agree, do. And there's something beautiful that gets unlocked in us. And then you start seeing other people the way that Jesus sees them. There's something that gets unlocked in us. We don't just hear about something and have compassion. We just start seeing it. Maria and I made some people, which was just so fun. And when Lindsay, Richard, and Adam were growing up, they're all just so very different. Lindsay is like Mary Poppins with grenades. She's just fearless. We do some stuff in Lebanon, Syria. And if I say, you want to come? She's like, yes. I only get out, do you want to? She's like, I'm in. But so kind. She's never said a cross word. And my son, Richard, is 6'8", and he's still growing. In another couple feet, it's going to be super weird. And then I've got Adam. And any of you have that kid that's the daredevil? I mean, he's going to, if you can't lose your arm, he isn't interested. Well, when they were growing up, I had this mirror. I would get the mirror out. They'd be like, Dad, not the mirror. I'm like, get counseling later. And I would hold up the mirror to Lindsay. I'd say, Lindsay, you look right here, girl. You're a woman of virtue. I mean, I see in you your ability to love people well, your ability to love God, your faithfulness to this family. Lindsay, you're a woman of virtue. I'll hold it up to my son, Richard. You're huge. I said, Richard, you're a man of valor. I've seen you in tight spots. I've seen the way that you show up for people. I see you as a man of valor. With Adam, I'll hold it up. I'll say, Adam, you won't see 30. But you know what? When my kids went to college, they didn't take all their trophies with them. They brought their mirrors. And I wasn't there, but I bet you on the third or fourth day of school, their roommate said, what's up with the mirror? Can't you picture him say, you look right here? You guys, get a mirror. Leave now. And here's the pro tip. Instead of this, do this. You know, what is it that's going on in me that's getting in the way of me being the person that God wants me to be? This isn't to be a better version of you. It's to be a more accurate reflection of Christ. And it just has to do with expressing your faith and love. Just see a need, meet a need, jump in the small and big things. I was reading about what was going on in Afghanistan with this takeover of Taliban. They wouldn't let little girls learn how to read or write. And that just ticked me off. But I don't know anybody in Afghanistan. Do you? Yeah. So I got on WhatsApp. I met this guy. He said he's from Afghanistan. I'm like, awesome, I'm looking. But you cannot be talking to the wrong people on WhatsApp. So I'm a lawyer. I figure out stuff for a living. So I'm asking these questions. I'm like, so how do you spend your day? When I say the word enemy, who pops to mind? Crickets, nothing. He won't answer. So I had this idea. I go, I'm going to fly to Kabul, Afghanistan to meet this guy. What a stupid idea. So I land in Kabul, and I get a text message from him. He said, Bob, I can't meet you at the airport. Shoot. Actually, I didn't say shoot, but that's what I meant. So what you need to do is leave the airport, and you're going to find a car. The engine will be running. The last number on the license plate's a 7. Get in the car. Now, how many of you are like, I'm out of here? How about you Enneagram 7s? Like, what could possibly go wrong? So I just start walking through Kabul, and people, I do not blend in. I find a car, there's a 7 in the engine is running, I get in the back seat, and this guy doesn't speak English, and I don't speak him. And then I get a phone call, and this is the guy that's we've been talking to. What I didn't know is his office is 20 feet from the president of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. What he wanted to know, if I would trust him enough to do what he told me to do, then he'd trust me enough to build a girls' school. You guys, and then we did. This guy that loves his country, loves to see the possibility in women, and we built this school. We painted it to look like a cupcake. We went to the leaders in town, and we said, would it be okay if we built a school in this particular region? And they said, if you want to make a headline, no. If you want to make a difference, yes. And I think that idea, when you ask this question, what do you want? You got to vet it. Why do you want it? Because if you want applause, join the circus. But if you want Jesus, find hurting people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, and people in jail. And if following Jesus doesn't lead me and you to them, we ain't following Jesus. And I just want us to just say like, and it's hard. But then the little girls started arriving. Hundreds and hundreds of these little girls. That's just seeing. They installed a computer lab in this last couple weeks. They're sewing machines for if they get inspected, it's all sewing machines. And when they go away, the computers come out. And these girls are learning how to read and write. Malala has said it so well, there's nothing that scares a terrorist more than a girl with a book. What I want us to do is find it, but you don't have to go across an ocean. Go across the street. Find one person that's your neighbor that's hurting and say, how can I engage them in love? All this time in Uganda, and I never take the malaria pills because, like, what's the chances? You guys, I got malaria. It nearly killed me. The awesome part is I dropped 30 pounds. There's not awesome parts of it. But here's the deal. After this whole thing here, reach out your right hand. Reach it out. Yeah, that's it. You could do Lasix with that hand. Like, that's a steady hand. My right hand is steady. But you know my left hand? I got a tremor in it now. And when it gets going, I could whip eggs. And what I've spent the last 20 years doing is I meet people, I reach out my strong hand. And the thing I'm learning about expressing my faith and love is to reach out my weak hand. This is of the 37 miracles Jesus did, the 7th miracle. He met a guy with a withered hand. And Jesus said, reach out your hand to me. So if you want to keep it real, you want to keep it authentic in your view, you want to express your faith and love, then reach out your weekend. Be aware of your faults, your shortcomings, the things that have gone wrong. But you don't need to camp there. Like, setbacks aren't campsites. They're setbacks. And I want us to understand what that is and then move on. There's a series of 5 poems from a woman named Portia Nelson. And this is the first of the 5. It says, I walk down the street, there's a hole in the sidewalk. I fall in, I'm lost, I'm helpless, but it isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Here's the second of these 5 poems. I walk down the same street, there's a hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. Here's the third of these 5 poems. I go down the same street, there's a hole in the sidewalk. I see it there, I fall in again. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Here's 4 of 5. I walk down the same street, there's a hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Here's 5 of 5. I walk down a different street. And following Jesus is a lot like reaching out your weak hand. It's about loving people without an agenda and just taking a different street. That we can be informed by some of the things that have happened in our past, but we don't need to be captive by those things. We can say, I'm actually see some things unfolding in my life that are pointing towards something really beautiful. What I want us to do is live in that kind of anticipation. And for some of us, it's going to involve some risk. The 5th miracle of the 37, it says that Jesus was walking by the Sea of Galilee and he comes up to a boat and he gets in it. It's the first boat jacking. And he just pushes out. And he met these 2 guys and they'd been fishing all night. And this is what he said, push out a little bit deeper. And you know what? They thought it was a stupid idea, but the next verse said they did it anyway. What would that look like for you to push out a little deeper, to flip the mirror, to go a little bit deeper with some of the people around? Stop asking people like, how are you? Because if I say, how are you? You'll say, fine. And then what will you say to me? Fine, thank you. That's how we roll in North America. What if we say instead, what does it feel like to be you right now? And while you're thinking about that, let me tell you what it feels like to be me. It feels like almost crippling insecurity. Would you guess that? Yeah, I'm totally insecure. We used to call these Russian nesting dolls. Now we'll call them Ukrainian nesting dolls. In your face, Putin. So I got in my mind that everybody was going to leave me. I had some crazy stuff happen when I was young. Maybe you did as well. And so what I decided to do is to be whatever anybody wanted me to be. So I decided to be the happy guy because for fear that anyone would leave me. But underneath that was a guy that actually needed some love and attention. I needed somebody to reach out in my direction. I needed my mom to show up. I'm neither the hero nor the victim of this, but she didn't have the ability, like words like I love you and all that. But most of us are either a reflection of or reaction to the people who've been closest to us. Wouldn't you agree? And I am me because she was her. And that which I didn't get what I needed, but what I ended up doing is kind of figuring out what that was. And then underneath that, there was a guy that longed for some connection, but I thought maybe I could be just the available guy. I wouldn't be the smartest guy in the room, but I could be the available guy. But under that was a guy that just, like, I just wanted somebody to go out on a date with me. In junior high school, that was my ambition. I just wanted a date. And I had a Stingray bike with a banana seat. Anybody have those? I can't believe I could even have kids now, because I wanted a date so bad, and nobody would say yes. And so in high school, I thought certainly it will happen. And then just little happy Bob would go. But I would just keep it in the top 3 inches of every conversation. Nobody wants to go out with that guy. And so I was in my 2nd year of law school before I met Maria. Guys, remember when you meet the girl of your dreams? I'm like, yes, you will be mine. I'm picking out names for our kids. Like, she's been in the room for 3 minutes. I figure we're dating. So I asked her out, and she said no. I'm like, darn it. But I knew where she was going to be that weekend. There was a Young Life camp, and she was going to be the girls' work crew boss, so I was going to show up as the guys' work crew boss. And so I got 12 high school guys, and I got up there and like, Maria, who knew? And that first night, this elderly woman, her pacemaker stops. She face plants in the spaghetti. She's gone, like, go to Jesus, out of here. But I knew how to do CPR. And I'm pushing on her chest. I am blowing into her wrinkled lips. It was not the first kiss I was hoping for. And she lived like full Lazarus. And Maria thought, this guy ain't much to look at, but he could be useful in a pinch. What I want you to do is know your ambition and know what are the impediments, and then get adjacent to your ambition. Whatever it is, if you want to like have people like that you're serving, like this worship band loves you guys. They just talk behind your back constantly back there. They just love you guys. The whole staff here, they could be running small countries. They just love what's going on here. And what I want to do is say, are you in the right job for you? If any of you that follow me know I quit things on Thursday. I just give it the boot. We have a bunch of aircraft carriers in San Diego, and the last thing they do before they launch a jet off the catapult is this. Or put your fists together, stick your thumbs out, now bounce them. That means pull the chocks. Like the stuff that's keeping you stuck. Half of you guys are afraid you're going to lose your job, and the other half of you are afraid you're going to keep it. Just quit. Yeah, if you don't want to quit, just call me. I'll tell your boss. Say, we're done. Every job I ever got, on my first day, I would put a stamp on it. I would address it to my new boss, and we'd just say, I quit. And I'd give that letter to sweet Maria, and I'd say, if this job ever gets in between me and you or me and Jesus, you mail that thing in. You don't even need to tell me. I'll find out. What I want to do, that's what it looks like to take a different street. I want you to start saying, I'm going to let go of the things that are hanging me up, some of the stuff in your past, or the things that God has forgiven you for. When Lindsay arrived, we knew what flavor she was going to be, and we picked a name, and we're in the labor and delivery room. And sweet Maria is saying some uncharacteristically vile things about me because I was a participant in her circumstance. And so I sat a safe distance away, and I wrote a letter to Lindsay. I said, Dear Lindsay, I forgive you for wrecking my car. I put it in a pickle jar, and I buried it at the hospital. 18 years later, she wrecked my car. And instead of saying something snarky like the brakes on the left, instead, I gave her a shovel, I gave her a map, and I told her where to dig. And she came home with this jar, 18 years old, and she took the lid off of it. And she read this note. She said, Dad, you forgave me before I was even born. I want you to know that's how your Father in heaven feels about you. This is from Song of Songs. There's a great verse. Not that one, but there's another verse in the song. That's an awesome one, but there's another one. It says this, my beloved is mine, and I'm his. Could we just think of this? Think of the things that are separating you from God right now that's getting in the way of you making some progress. There's some stuff that you've looked at or somebody you're sending emojis to that you shouldn't be, or whatever in your past. And you're calling yourself all these names under your breath, and on your very worst day, with your biggest screw up, you don't want anybody to know about you. You know what Jesus calls you? He calls you beloved. And if you're not hearing the word beloved spoken over your biggest screw up right now, it ain't Jesus talking. And I think what we need to do is just dial that in. You're his beloved. And so when it comes to making decisions about what to do, I want to say I'm going to pull the chocks on a couple of things in my life that are I just don't need to return there anymore. And I want to Galatians 5, I want to express my faith in love in places just across the street or in a safe environment like this, or take somebody to Starbucks, make them pay, but just have the conversation. There's a place in Texas, it's called Lake Jackson, and the guy that made Lake Jackson named every single street Way. There's a street called this way, and there's a street called that way. I took a picture. You could make this stuff up. There's a street called Anyway. The church is on his way, and the airport's on runway. But a lot of us are stuck right there. We're saying, should I do this or should I do that? And what I want you to do is to go through this thing: hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, people in jail, widows and orphans. Like, that's it. That's on my shopping list right there. If it doesn't fit, it isn't that it's unimportant. It's just unimportant to me compared to what is important to me. And what we need to do is figure out how to get there, even in the middle of some deep loss, even in the middle of some like gut punches that life passes us. This week has been such a hard one with so much in the news that's so sad and just like gut rendering. But we all have these things. I told you where we live in Canada, and we built a place that we bring good guys, bad guys, and undecided. And because I'm the consul general for Uganda, I can get anybody a visa in there. Even if they're not allowed in here, I can get them up there. And so we've had all these people from all these different countries. We're going to put one last coat of stain on this place. It took me 20 years to build this thing. It was my life's work. And we brought 6 guys up to spend 2 months there putting one last coat of stain there. They were there for 1 day. They put all their oily rags together. It spontaneously combusted, burn it to the ground. Now, it wasn't a house of yours that burnt down, but it may have been a dream, an ambition, a relationship, something, and it all burnt down. I remember standing up there with Sweet Maria at the ashes of this thing, and the smoke was still just trickling up from there. And there was a well-intentioned woman that I think was still working on her people skills a little bit. And she said, the reason God burned down your lodge is he wanted to show you his power. I wanted to scissor kick her in the neck. I'm like, what? What? I've seen a ladybug and been wild. You didn't need to burn down my house. But I think sometimes the things that come our way is he wants to show us that he's with us. We went to counseling, and Maria gave me permission to share this with you, but the counselor asked her, what was the hardest part about the lodge burning down? And she said it was the only place on earth that she felt safe. And for a gal with these social anxiety kinds of things, they started pointing in this direction. And because he's a good counselor, Bill, he pulled this stuff out of her. And I've known this woman for 43 years, and we've been married 39 of them. There was somebody who, before we got married, did something just unspeakable to her. And she had carried that with her for 4 decades. And I told Maria, man, if it took our lodge to burn down for you to get real with what went on, I would have lit the match myself. God will burn down whatever it takes to get to the most authentic version of us. And if you're sensing loss, if you're sensing like just the heaviness of these weeks and months, and now it feels like years of that, to say, what is it that God's burning down? What is it that you can let go? But I want you to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Hebrews 12:1. Putting aside all the things that so easily entrap us as we run this race, and keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of life. If that's you, if you identify with this pain in your past, there's something that's just keeping you stuck there, man, find somebody safe. Don't go that alone. It could be a counselor. It could be a really safe person here. And you'll know you found them because they won't tell you what you do. They'll tell you who you are. They'll remind you, you are beloved. I'm very easily distracted, and I'm also a pilot, which is not a good combination. There are not a lot of old pilots who are easily distracted. And so Maria won't fly with me. She goes up there, but once a year, I can get her in this old seaplane. And you can tell the oil on the seaplane is like always leaking out because they're from the 40s. And you can tell when it's out of oil because it stops leaking. And so we got in the seaplane, and we'll fly up to a little lake somewhere and have a soda pop and say, let's do this again. And so we were flying back, and we got to the dock, and Maria jumped out of the plane, and she left a note behind. It said, meet me at the cabin. I'm like, yes. So I'm running to the cabin. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And you know what she'd done? She'd saved her wedding dress for 35 years. And she still fitted, and we just duct taped me into this tuxedo. And we renewed our vows. And I'm emotionally incontinent, which is, I cried everything, which is really a problem if you're a trial lawyer. So, but all I could get out is, beloved, I am yours and you are mine. What if that could be just your heartfelt prayer today, to say to Jesus, I'm yours, you're mine. It's not about all the rules. It's not about the things that we've experienced or the facades that we have, but we do these things to cope with the life that we've had. We flip the mirror and we start saying, what is it that God is doing in and through me? He wants to do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or imagine through his power at work through us in this community. I'm going to close with this. We have something up in Canada that you don't have a lot of here, and they're these sea otters. And the thing about sea otters is that they all hold hands. We should be playing Sarah McLachlan music right now. They all hold hands, and do you know why they do it? They don't want anybody to drift away. Isn't that great? Be that church. Be the church that just doesn't ask. Don't ask, like, how are you? What are we going to say? What's it feel like to be you today? And then say, let me tell you what it feels like to be me. It's about 100% anticipation and about 95% insecurity. If we get that, and it's what getting there is just going to take, it's like a heart transplant. It's going to be like it's going to have to be something that God is doing in and through us that he's never done before. Lawyers always tell you that they're done when they're not done. I want to tell you about Kelly. Kelly's been a friend of mine for 40 years, and she called up and her heart had been racing. The thing about Kelly is that she's this go-for-it mountain climber, and she didn't know what was going on with her heart. She saw a doctor, and he said, you're just having a panic attack, and he sent her home. And we were talking, she's like, I don't think this is it. And she goes into another doctor. The doctor sees her, life flights her to UCLA Medical Center. They immediately crack her chest open because her heart has picked up some disease. And the doctor says, you've got 1 day to live. Can you imagine that? If you only had 1 day to live. And tragically, there was somebody that was in this equestrian accident. They took this heart of that person, they put it in Kelly's chest, gave it a flick. And what Kelly's been doing is going around the world, climbing the highest mountain peaks with a brand new heart. And here's the problem with her heart. Because they cut all the nerves that connect it together, her heart always thinks it's at sea level. And so when she's going up big things, like that she has to actually learn how to whisper to her heart, to say, this is really hard work. This is Kelly at the top of the Matterhorn. And as she was climbing, she's like, heart, you've got to beat. This is really hard work. And that might be you this morning. You just are faced, it's financial stuff, it's relational stuff, it's your kids, it's a boss, it's a relationship with somebody that got wonky. Just get real with that. Let Jesus know this is really hard work. The other problem Kelly has is this. When she got to the top of the Matterhorn, her heart still thinks it's climbing. And she has to whisper to her heart again to say, it's time to rest. And some of you are going Mach 5, your hair's on fire, and what you need, it's Sunday. Get a puppy. Chill out. Could you, you're putting us all on edge. You know who you are because I'm one of them. But just, it's time to rest. You're his beloved. Will we stand up, grab a shoulder or a hand or whatever's not creepy of whoever's next to you? Come on, I'm going to send us out of here. Let's say a prayer together. Could we just keep our eyes open? Would that be okay? We get to spend eternity together, and I want to remember what you look like. So Jesus, be with each person in this room. Give them the guts and the grit, not to just agree with you, but to take the next step. Flip the mirror. See, what is it that we need, and reach out our weak hand, not our strong one. We acknowledge your authority over this body here. Send them into this community just with expectation they're going to blow people's minds, but not with an agenda, but to just love people. In your strong name, amen. Thanks, you guys. You're dismissed.